It was June 19, 1949 when the first NASCAR sanctioned race was held. What started out as moonshiners and bootleggers running from the lawmen is now one of the biggest motorsports in the world. Over its 68-year history, the world's best stock car drivers have strapped themselves in to go wheel to wheel on a Sunday afternoon for the chance to stand in victory lane. I'm Justin with NRN, and here's my list of the top 10 best NASCAR drivers. Number 10. Lee Petty. Lee Petty is probably most famous for the controversial photo finish during the first running of the Daytona 500 in 1959. Bill France Sr. took 3 days before stripping the win from Johnny Beauchamp and handing it over to Petty. This wasn't the only time something like this happened in his career, though. During that same year at the Lakewood 500, Lee and his son Richard Petty were in a tight battle for the lead with 10 laps to go. Richard would go on to win the race, but Lee would protest the win, saying that his son was 1 lap down. Richard was stripped of the win, and Lee Petty was again declared the winner after the race. When asked, Lee said, "I'd protest my mother if I needed to." During his career, he had 54 wins, 231 top 5s, 332 top 10s, and 3 NASCAR championships. Number 9. Mark Martin. Out of all the drivers on this list, Mark Martin is the only one without a Daytona 500 win and a championship. However, he's still pretty damn good. Cutting his teeth in ASA, Martin raced against names like Dick Trickle and Bobby Allison. He was ASA Rookie of the Year in 1977 and started his NASCAR career in 1981 for Bud Reeder. But it was in 1988 when his career really took off, when he was signed to drive for Roush Racing. During his time with Roush, Martin won 35 races and finished runner-up in the championship 4 times. In fact, he lost the 1990 championship to Dale Earnhardt by only 26 points. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Through his racing career, he has 40 wins, 271 top 5s, and 453 top 10 finishes, making him one of the most consistent drivers in NASCAR. Number 8. Cale Yarborough. Yarborough is probably one of the most fascinating race car drivers in NASCAR, maybe even history. The story goes that he snuck into the Southern 500 in 1951 to watch his first race. But he didn't take to racing at first. He played football in high school and was a Golden Gloves boxer. His first experience behind the wheel of a race car came during the Southern 500 when he lied about his age so that he could enter the race. However, the jig was up, the news was out, and NASCAR caught him. He made his official and legal NASCAR start during the 1957 Southern 500 driving for Bob Weatherly. After driving for a number of teams, Yarborough started driving for the famous Wood Brothers in 1966 and in 1967 began winning. Yarborough has 83 wins, 255 top 5s, 319 top 10s, and has 3 championships to his name. Number 7. Jimmie Johnson. So, a lot of you are probably going to say he should be higher on the list, and you're probably right, but he's still an active driver, so I'll leave him here. Johnson is tied with Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt for the most championship wins at 7. And with Johnson currently still racing, he has a great chance of becoming the only NASCAR driver to win 8 championships. Hell, even Michael frickin' Schumacher was only able to win 7 championships in Formula One. While other kids are trying to learn how to ride a bicycle at 4 years old, Johnson was racing motorcycles and already winning championships. He began racing in NASCAR's top league in 2002 and got off to a great start when he won the pole for the Daytona 500 as a rookie driver. He then went on to win his first career race in only his 13th start, and then he'd pretty much go on to win everything, anything, and no one else ever had a chance ever again. At the making of this video, Johnson has 83 career wins, 221 top 5s, 341 top 10s, and 7 championships. Number 6. Darrell Waltrip. Motormouth Waltrip began his racing career in go-karts at the age of 12. He entered his first stock car race a few years later when he and his dad built a 1936 Chevrolet Coupe, which Waltrip put in the wall just a few laps into the race. But once Waltrip discovered asphalt, his winning ways began. At the age of 25, Waltrip made his first NASCAR start during the 1972 Talladega race, driving a car he bought from Holman Moody for around $12,500. In 1975, Waltrip scored his first career win by putting the entire field 2 laps down. His most successful years in racing came in 1981 when he joined Jimmie Johnson's race team. In his first season alone with the team, he scored 12 wins and won the championship. But his biggest win arguably came in 1989 when he finally won his first and only Daytona 500 victory driving for Hendrick Motorsports. Waltrip ended his career with 84 wins, 276 top 5s, 390 top 10s, and 3 NASCAR championships. Number 5. Bobby Allison. When Allison began racing, he was only 17 and had to have his mother give written permission stating that it was okay to do so. And thank the Lord she did, because had she said no, we would have missed out on some great racing battles. He began racing in 1956 in the Miami, Florida area, but he couldn't use his own name. His parents had told him that if he was going to race, he couldn't live at home. To avoid getting kicked out, Allison was entering races under fictitious names. But like most parents, his dad of course knew that he was racing and finally told him if he was going to do it, at least honor the family by using his real name. In 1965, he began racing in NASCAR and got his first career win a year later. Allison would go on to win 84 NASCAR races, 336 top 5s, 446 top 10s, and 1 championship. He's also part of that famous fight with Yarborough at the end of the 1979 Daytona 500 that helped propel NASCAR to where it is today. Number 4. David Pearson. Pearson's love of motorsports began when he climbed up a tree to get a sneak peek at a stock car race that was being held at Spartanburg Fairgrounds. From that moment, he knew what he wanted to do with his life. He wanted to go fast. Pearson won the 1959 track championship at the Greenville-Pickens Speedway and got his first start in NASCAR the very next year. He finished 17th during that year's Daytona 500 in a car that he owned and went on to become the 1960 Rookie of the Year. But when Pearson bent the frame of his self-owned race car, his racing days were done and he had to take a job as a roofer to support his family. As luck would have it though, Ray Fox was in dire need of a driver for the inaugural race of the World 600. Fox was asked to hire a driver named David Pearson. That turned out to be one of the best decisions he could have ever made because Pearson went on to win that race. Pearson ended his racing career with 105 wins, 301 top 5s, 366 top 10s, and 3 championships. Number 3. Jeff Gordon. Gordon began racing a BMX bike at the age of 4 and quarter midgets at the age of 5. By the time he was 6, he had 35 wins and set 5 track records. In 1990, Gordon met Hugh Connerty, who owned some Hooters restaurants and also had a partnership with Outback Steakhouse. My man. Connerty brought in Ray Evernham to work with Gordon and get him ready for NASCAR. He made his first start in the fall of 1990 in what is now the Xfinity Series at Rockingham Speedway. In 1992, Roush had plans to hire Gordon, but wouldn't hire Evernham. The two decided to stay together, and it was Rick Hendrick who ended up with the Gordon-Evernham pairing. Since making his first start, Gordon has changed NASCAR and brought about a new era of driver. He retired with 93 wins, 325 top 5s, 477 top 10s, and 4 championships. Number 2. Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt was born into a racing family. His father, Ralph Earnhardt, was considered one of the best short-track drivers in the state of North Carolina. However, Ralph Earnhardt did not want his son to go anywhere near a race car. Dale dropped out of school to pursue his dream of racing. He made his first start in 1975 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He drove the number 8 Dodge Charger to a 22nd place finish, which was just 1 spot ahead of his future car owner, Richard Childress. Earnhardt began racing briefly for Childress in 1981 before leaving to race for Bud Moore. But in 1984, Earnhardt would return to Childress and would replace Ricky Rudd in the number 3. The legend that was the Intimidator won 76 races, 281 top 5s, 428 top 10s, and 7 NASCAR championships. However, one race had always eluded him, the Daytona 500, which he was finally able to win in 1998 for his biggest win of his career. In 2001, he was tragically killed in a crash during the Daytona 500. Number 1. Richard Petty. The King. This should really come as no surprise. It's hard to compete with a driver that has a winning record of 200 race victories. He started racing at the age of 21 in Canada, of all places. He got his first of 200 wins in 1959 at Lakewood. No, wait. That's the one his father stripped of him. In 1964, Petty won his first of 7 Daytona 500s and his first of 7 NASCAR championships with that famous Petty Blue Plymouth that had a powerful Hemi engine that was banned from competition after that season. Petty's last race was the 1992 Hooters 500, in which he didn't finish due to a crash. Petty has a legendary record of 200 NASCAR wins, 555 top 5s, 712 top 10s, and 7 championships. Do you agree with my list? Is there a driver you think I missed? If so, then let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to NRN for more racing top 10s. I'm Justin with NRN, and thanks for watching.